Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at this new set of 48 watercolors by Paul Rubens. I reviewed this line of paint when it first came out in the 24 set, which included 2 extra half pans, and now they're up to a full 48 range of colors, and this set comes with 4 extra pans. So I've already gone ahead and prepared the palette by taking the papers off. Now I wanted to show you the papers here. Well, some of them, they slide right off. There's no plastic wrapping, so it's very easy to get your palette set up. I'm just going to show you how they come because this is one of the extra pans. It's very easy to take that paper off. In fact, I might put a little piece of tape on the back of these just to keep these pans wrapped, and I'll set them aside until I need a replacement. But it comes with an extra intense green, which is a like a phthalo green, and plus it's a phthalo green plus a hence a yellow in it. It comes with a lemon yellow hue, which is a PY175, an extra ultramarine, which is PB29, and an extra Prussian blue. So those are the extra colors you get. At least that's what I got. Maybe they're assorted. Maybe they're different in different sets. Now I unwrapped all these and I put them in the same order that the card was, so it'd be easy for swatching. I'm just going to swatch this card here, and I did put a stripe of black marker there last night. This is on their glitter paper, which is kind of fun to play with. So I put them back in. Now, as you can see from this set, you're going to have more pastel colors than you typically get in a Paul Rubens set. Like that Davies gray is kind of a pastel. We've got a light turquoise. We've got this really light sky blue, this kind of a peachy pink here, this peach color, kind of a Naples yellow, and then we get a Chinese white and a titanium white. So it's a different arrangement of colors, and this is sold more as like a student line. However, the price on this, I think currently it's $69, and their original pink tin professional is only like $72. So just going by what I remember from the 24 set, I would definitely just spend $2 more and go for the professional, but they are pretty good. As I recall from the 24 set, they're kind of very similar to the Meilaing or the Chaumet set of paints. The Chaumets are just a smidgen higher than the Meilaing, but we're going to swatch these out and see what we think about this set here. And I'm just going to set this so we have our palette and our swatch card matching. I'm going to use a round Taklon brush. This is one of the brushes from my signature set with Craft Ammo. If you use the coupon code Lindsay20, you will get 20% off. I'll double check that coupon code and put it in the video description just for reference. I think I'll put a little drop of water on the white, on the 2 white colors for a second. Actually, you know what? Boy, that is actually, you know what? I don't think I need to pre-activate. Look how easy, look how much that's coming up. So that's the titanium dioxide white. That's PW6. That should be pretty opaque. I have 2 buckets of water, so I'm going to clean my brush in one and then get fresh water in the other. That will prevent me from, that will keep my washes nice and fresh. This is a Chinese white, which should be more translucent, which it is. A Chinese white is used for when you want to mix a color, like you want to mix a pastel or you want to lighten a color without changing the viscosity of the paint by adding water. It just kind of almost just gives you a little bit more of that. It lets you keep the paint in the same viscosity without really changing without really making it opaque. It does make it lighter because it's like adding water, but you can see the difference right there between the titanium white, which is opaque, and the Chinese white, which is PW4, which is transparent, or translucent, I should say. This color here, they call flesh color. I'm actually going to change my glasses because reading small type is a challenge. But I would consider it more like a Naples yellow hue. It's PW6, which is titanium white, plus PY42, which is yellow ochre. We've got a yellowish red, which kind of almost looks like a ballet pink or a powder pink, or Naples yellow reddish, as I see it called from other brands. And the stripe that I made is only to show opacity. The next color we have is our lemon yellow hue, which we have 2 of those. We get an extra. It's a beautiful PY175, which is a nice light fast cool red. And you do see light fastness ratings here. I'm not sure why this, well, I guess because PY42 is a very light, fast color. I don't know. There have all been 4 and 5 so far. I'm pretty sure 5 is the highest. Oh, I should see if it says. It doesn't say on there, but let me look at a brown and we'll see. Yellow ochre is 5 stars. Yeah, so that would be the most light fast. Okay, get it back in frame there. Next color, cadmium yellow pale hue. So one thing I've noticed with these, with this range of watercolors that come in the rainbow tin, is that I do not see any heavy metals such as cadmiums, real cobalts, nickel, things like that. So it could be also more of a environmentally friendly palette. So we're going down to the cadmium yellow hue. Okay, so that was PY65 plus PY175. This is PY97 plus PY65. A little bit warmer in tone. Very similar though. The pale and the regular are very similar. I don't think, this is Gamboge hue, I don't think they offer open stock of these, but they do have the Chaumet in tubes, which you could, I'm pretty sure you could actually just refill. This is Gamboge hue, PY153. Next we have light red, which is PR101 plus PW6, which is weird. You usually don't see a white mixed in with, usually it's just PR101 for light red. Interesting. The next color is bright pink, which is a pastel color. It's PR112 plus PW6. That's another one of those kind of like ballet slipper pink colors. Cadmium orange hue, PO73 and PY14. I'm not very familiar with PY14. I think it might be a benzimidazolone. But PO73 is a fairly, I thought it was a fairly light fast color. It only has a 3-star light fast rating though. I wonder if this says non-toxic on here, because just looking at the pigments, it looks like it's probably a non-toxic. Product name, maybe it is the same paint as the Chaumet. I can't remember how that was spelled, but suitable for people over 3 years old to use it. It says, interesting. Guarantee period 3 years. It says do not smoke or eat during the use of this product. Be sure to wash your hands. But gosh, I haven't seen any toxic pigments yet. It might just be boilerplate what they put on the packages. Cadmium red pale hue, PY65 and PY255. That's a pretty color. Look at all the beautiful warm tones. I'll be using this in a tutorial later today, and then I will come back with my final thoughts on this particular range of color, but I also leave a link to the original review I did of this line. Oh wow, cadmium red hue, that's a gorgeous color. Like a beautiful scarlet. PR149 and PR255. That's a naphthol red, I believe, and maybe a pyrrole scarlet mixed. There's a lot of mixed pigments here, but you know, we'll have to see how it actually paints in practice to see. Ah, gosh, that's beautiful. Cadmium red, deep hue. I thought that was pretty neutral till I saw it next to this one, and this one does look cooler than that one. Alizarin crimson hue is our next color, PR206, which is an endangered color. So one thing that we see with Paul Rubens is often we'll see pigments that have been discontinued, and people debate whether it's accurate or not that they're using those pigments. And I honestly don't doubt that they're using the pigments. I would reckon, because a lot of these synthetic pigments, and they get discontinued because, you know, there's no demand for them in major, you know, like for automotive or plastics or things like that. So, and art suppliers don't have that much clout. They don't buy enough for, you know, for them to change, factories to change what they make for pigments. But it seems to me that since many of these pigments are made in China, that Chinese companies would get first dibs because China is such a protectionist country. So it makes sense that they got first dibs on the pigments before Western manufacturers did. So I don't think that it's necessarily that they're necessarily lying about using those pigments. I just bet they got a stockpile of them. I mean, I obviously don't work for any of these companies, so I can't say for sure. Purple Lake, PR88. That's another pigment you don't see very often. It might be another discontinued one. That one was PV19, Permanent Rose PV19, very pretty. So we do have some single pigment colors here. These are single pigment. Obviously, the white's a single pigment. That's a single pigment. So we've had a few. That light red, I'm wondering if that's going to have a bit of granulation to it. We'll have to wait and see how it dries out. Plus, this is a fairly smooth paper, so it's not going to show a tremendous amount of granulation. Bright purple is right here. This is PR122, which is magenta, quinacridone magenta, and PV23, which is dioxazine violet. It's kind of an interesting combination there. The hue is very similar to the Purple Lake. They both boast 4 stars of light fastness. And then we've got Deep Purple, which is those same 2 colors, but with a preference to the PV23. I don't know why they just didn't do PV23 on its own, which looks so similar. Maybe to temper it, because PV23 is such a strong color, such a strong pigment on its own, so maybe they decided to cut it a bit. Light blue, this is PB15 plus PW6. It's another very opaque pastel color. I don't know, I mean, you definitely could mix any of those colors because we do have the titanium white there if you wanted to. So I would just not even getting 2 full rows done. I would say that you're better off getting the original set of 48 Paul Rubens colors because you're getting more expensive pigments, you're getting more light fast colors, you're getting more single pigment colors, and you're getting more useful colors where there's a ton of duplicate pigments here that you could just mix from other pigments in the set. I would definitely go for that's a pretty cobalt blue hue. It is a mix of PB29 and PW5. That's interesting, using PW5. You know, that I think that would be a better bang for your buck. You do get 4 additional colors, like backup colors for quote-unquote free, but to be honest, I think even the Meilaing is very similar in quality and use. And I think the 48 set of that is, or they've got that 50-something set, which is, I think, around $40 or less. I think that's a much better bang for your buck. Maybe tariffs have brought the price of this up, I don't know. Okay, we're going, and maybe my opinion will change when we get these next 2 rows swatched. But now we have Intense Blue, PB15. It's a nice phthalo blue, very bright, very transparent. Now we've got turquoise blue, which is actually a mixture of 3 colors. PB17, which is also known as peacock blue. PG7, which is a phthalo green rather, and PB15:3, which is your typical phthalo blue. That's a pretty color. It definitely looks like a peacock blue. I don't know why all the mixed pigments. It doesn't seem like it's necessary. Next up we have Prussian blue. That's a color we also have a backup of. That's a very beautiful, cool, earthy blue, kind of like an indigo. And the next color is indigo, and that is a mix of PB15, PBK7, PB29. Again, colors we already have that we could easily mix. This has more of a Payne's gray look to it, but I think there is a Payne's gray in here. This should have a little granulation from the ultramarine. Up next we have Sap Green, one of my favorite colors, PG36 plus PO49. Very nice. That's a very pretty hue, very pretty version of Sap Green, kind of olivey. Next up, Emerald, which they have a mixture of PG7 and PY175. I like to have just a plain old PG7 because I find that mixed with orange or different yellows gives me such a variety of beautiful natural looking greens, and it's so strong. Next is light turquoise, PB15 plus PW6. So this is the same mix as a sky blue, but for some reason it looks way greener. So I have a feeling they might have left a pigment out, because PB15 is still going to have, I mean, that's PB15 right there. It's not that green. So it seems like there might be something else added to that. Or they used one of the PB15 colon something that was more green, but I don't think it'd be that green. Anyway, intense green. This is one we have a backup for. This says PG7 plus PY3. This looks a lot like a PG36, like a bamboo green or a phthalo green yellow shade. It's not my favorite color. I find it's a little too weak to mix the greens that I like, personally. But anyway, Hooker's Green Light, PB15, PO49, and PG7. Now you can, if you go onto the listing, I'm going to link in the video description to Amazon. That's kind of pretty. That's a pretty Hooker's Green. It's very earthy looking. You're going to see that they have a 24 set, a 36 set, and a 48 set. So you'll want to compare. The 36 set is in the same tin as the 48 set, so you do get that big tin. And compare the colors and see what, you know, what's included and what you would be most likely to use. I thought the 24 set range was pretty good, and just by judging by the amount of I want to say filler colors, you know, because they don't, I mean, there's so many colors you could easily mix, that for a beginner I think it would actually slow down their learning, and for somebody that's more advanced, it's just kind of taking up extra space. Viridian is a mix. It's not a real Viridian. It's PB15 and PG7. But I mean, really, do you need this and that? I mean, there's a lot of very samey greens that you're going to have to mix down to make them look natural anyway. Gosh, I feel so negative. I don't mean to be negative. I love the tin. I like, honestly, for the price, I love Paul Rubens stuff, but I think this one's a little expensive, and I feel like you're paying for the tin. This is a beautiful raw sienna, but I don't know why. We have 3 pigments. It's PY43, which is your natural yellow, synthetic yellow iron oxide. PR101, which is iron oxide, which is like your Indian red, English red, and PY42, which is the synthetic yellow ochre. Maybe I may have those two mixed up, but PY43 and PY42 essentially look the same. One's synthetic, one's natural, and then PR101, which is your kind of brownish iron oxide. It's a pretty color though. It's super transparent. I like it. I'm surprised at how many pigments are in there. It doesn't, I mean, and these aren't seeming like they're dull or anything. So that's raw sienna. Now we have yellow ochre, which should be similar tone but more opaque, and this is just PY42, and that's how it is. It is more opaque. That's pretty raw sienna. I kind of wish the extras were ultramarine blue. It does come with ultramarine blue. I think I would take a raw sienna, maybe an alizarin crimson hue. I don't know. Maybe a burnt sienna. Let's see how this burnt sienna looks. That's one thing I do often find the earth tones to be a little bit weak. But that's a pretty burnt sienna. This is PR101, single pigment. Then we've got Indian red PR101. So that's that light red that they added white to. It does have some granulation to it. It's actually, that might be a nice substitute for Potter's Pink. That's a pretty Indian red. I'll be really curious to do a painting with these and see what I think. Raw umber, not a color I use very often. PBR7 and PY42. Some people love it though. It's never been a favorite of mine. Van Dyke Brown, PR101 and PBR7. That's a new combo Van Dyke Brown, I think. I don't think I've seen that combination. It's pretty though. That's pretty. It's oddly enough, it has a very yellow undertone to it, which I'm surprised because sometimes I do see PY42 in a Van Dyke Brown mix. But this is quite a yellow undertone for it being like a reddish brown plus a neutral brown. I don't know if that shows on camera or just kind of in real life. Next color we have Burnt Umber, PY42, PBR7. This one does have more of a yellow undertone. It doesn't really look like a burnt umber to me though. It looks much weaker, much lighter. It looks almost like a burnt sienna, but not quite red enough. Very interesting. Next color, Sepia. That's a color I don't tend to use, but I think maybe what I need to do is just do a painting with sepia and then see what I think. And actually, this is a pretty sepia. Now, this sepia looks like a burnt umber. What's going on? Are my eyeballs messed up today? It could very well be. I don't know. Next color, Ivory Black, PBK9. And this looks pretty neutral, honestly. Pretty neutral as far as the black goes. Doesn't seem to be really leaning warm or cool. Often Ivory Black will lean a little bit warm. Next up we have Davies Gray, a color I've had it before in palettes. I think my first palette ever had this and I didn't like it, but maybe I'll find a use for it. Now this one will be a granulating color because it's got PBK11 in it, so maybe I will find some use for that where it's granulating. We'll see. That's what I like to do. If I find a color that I'm not attracted to or that, and it's in a palette, you know, I try to find ways I can use it. I'll try to force myself to use it because then it pushes me out of my comfort zone. Now this is a lamp black. It's made from soot and it usually has a pretty cool undertone. And this is a slightly cool undertone. Not too much, not too bad. It's still pretty neutral. A little bit cooler than the Ivory Black, which I also found to be pretty neutral. And it is rather opaque. Even though it says that it's semi, to me it looks rather opaque. It looks more opaque than the Ivory Black. Mars Black, this is a great color. PBK11, this is beautiful texture. And I'm going to add a little bit extra water in it so as it dries you'll be able to see the texture. And it's magnetic. You can run a magnet behind it. That's how I test if a Ivory Black is, or if something has Mars Black in it. I'll test a magnet underneath it to see if it moves it. Because sometimes companies mislabel their paints. And this is Payne's Gray, which is a cool, very dark, almost black. Oh, and it's made from PBK11 to PB29. This should be super granulating. That's going to be exciting to play with, I think. Interesting. Well, their Mars Black is quite warm, so that's probably why they did the Payne's Gray like this. So there's some interesting stuff going on in this palette. I'm going to let this dry. Then I'll do a glaze over there so we'll have a mass tone. And I'll use it in a painting, and then I'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts on this particular iteration of these paints. I just painted this on a live stream on my YouTube channel with the Rainbow Tin 48 set of watercolors. So if you want to check out that real-time tutorial, you can. I found they were fine to paint with, but I felt like they reminded me a lot of these paints here. I think they were called Chaumet. They were released and then discontinued previously by Paul Rubens. I found like the feel of the paint seemed very similar, and I also found these to be very similar with the Meilaing paints. And in my review, my in-depth review of this 24 set, I do compare them to the other Paul Rubens set, so I'm going to link that down below so I don't just repeat myself. But what I thought I would do today is actually swatch the Chaumet set, the Ki Kai Hui set, which is the Rainbow Tin one, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, and the pretty excellent Meilaing set to see how similar they are, because as I was looking over my swatches today, I was seeing a lot of the same numbers on the Meilaing as well, and I've got my original 36 set here. Really, this is a tough set to beat. So if you are looking for an affordable watercolor set, I really cannot recommend this set enough, because for around $20, you're getting 36 really good colors. And I'm not saying these aren't good. I think they're probably overpriced, honestly, for almost the same price as the 48 original pink tin set of Paul Rubens paints, which I think are the best quality pan set, is their original set of 48. I think the other generations in the pan sets are equivalent or not quite as good, and they've all gotten more expensive. So that would be my recommendation if you want to buy a big set. I know the tin is really pretty, but I was comparing. Well, first let's go to the comparison of all of the sets of the Rainbow Tin watercolors. So what I did was I put a blue dot if the color's in the 24 set. I put a red dot if it's in the 36 set. So in the 24 set, you get, and in the 36 set and in the 48 set, you get Chinese white. All these colors here are in the 48 set. In all sets, you get the flesh color, which is kind of like a Naples yellow. In all the sets, you get extra lemon yellow hues. So you'll get 2 lemon yellow hues in the other sets. In the 36 set, you get the cadmium yellow pale. In the 36-24, in all the sets, you get the cadmium yellow hue. In all the sets, you get the gamboge hue. You get the cadmium orange in the 36 set. You get the cadmium red hue in the 24 set. You get both in the cadmium red. You get both of the cadmium red hue in both sets. In all 3 sets. You get cadmium red deep hue in all 3 sets. You get alizarin crimson hue in all 3 sets. You get the rose madder hue in the 36 set, or the 48, obviously. These are all in 48. You get the permanent rose in all sets. You get the purple lake in all sets. You get bright purple and deep purple in the 36 set. You get cerulean blue hue in all sets. You get cobalt blue hue in all sets. You get ultramarine plus an extra pan of it in all sets. You get intense blue in all sets. You get turquoise in the 36 set. You get Prussian in the 36 set. You get an extra Prussian in the 48 set. You get indigo in the 24 set, and the 48 obviously. You get sap green in all sets. You get emerald in all sets. You get an extra intense green in the 36 set and the 48 set. It's not the 24 set. You get hooker's green light in all sets. You get hooker's green deep in the 36 set. You get Viridian in the 36 set. You get raw sienna in the 36 set. Basically, I'm trying to show you what's in the 36 set versus the 48 set to see if you want those other colors that are in the 48 set and if it's worth the extra splurge. You get raw sienna in the 36 set. You get yellow ochre in the 36 set. You get an extra one. You get burnt sienna, and I don't know why there's not a raw sienna or a yellow ochre in the 24 set. That's like the big improvement I could see made to the 24 set. You get burnt sienna in all sets. You get Indian red in the 36 set. That's got a pretty granulation, and you could make that light red just by adding some white to it. I would just dilute it more personally. You get raw umber in all sets. You get Van Dyke brown in all sets. You get burnt umber in all sets. You get ivory black in the 24 set. You get lamp black in the 36 set, and you get Payne's gray in the 36 set. So you can see they don't put the pastels in the other set, which honestly I don't think it's a big loss. But there you go. I mean, these sets are pretty heavy in reds and greens. You get some very samey blues. I don't know. I think the 24 set, if they had thrown in a raw sienna or a yellow ochre in that 24 set, that would be the way to go personally for me. But if you wanted the big 10, the 36 set I think has most of the useful colors in it, in my opinion. Obviously, you do what you want to do. They do throw some extra pans in there, maybe to make it a little bit better of a value, so you get more paint than like the 48 professional, or the professional tins. But honestly, these are about the same price as the professional paints, like the original pink tin paints. If you're not in love with that rainbow tin, I would say go with their professional lines, because you're not going to find that value. I don't know if these are markedly more expensive than the Meilaing and this set here that they brought and took away, or if it's just like tariffs being added on and these are hitting these products first because the other products have been in the country already. I don't know. I honestly don't know. At the time I'm recording this, it is September 4th or 5th, and who the heck knows what is life. I don't know. But we're gonna swatch some side by side just so we can kind of see the difference. Now, I used these yesterday. I haven't used these in a while, but I'm not gonna pre-spray them because I really don't think they need it. I'm going to use a fairly soft brush so we get a nice juicy comparison. And let me first just write on here because I'll confuse myself. So here we're going to do, let's just move my paints around too so I don't confuse myself. Do that, we'll do that, and we'll do that. So actually no, I want the Meilaing in the middle because I feel like we're going to have more similar colors in the Meilaing. Let's zoom out a little bit. So here we're going to have the rainbow. We'll just call it rainbow because I can't pronounce the name. We're going to call this Meilaing, or Pretty Excellent. And over here, we're gonna have, it's called, I'll write it out. QIAOMEI. Now that line, they have a set of tubes as well. The tubes are still available on Amazon, actually. These are 12 ml tubes, and they're actually a good buy. I would recommend these. These tubes are higher quality than the Meilaing tubes. So these, absolutely, I would recommend these. I feel like they're nice. And they're probably going to get discontinued because the way Paul Rubens seems to run, when a product stops selling vigorously, they just chop it in half, like cut the price down or give you two for a dollar. I mean, not two for a dollar. They'll do like two for the price of one, or they'll put them on sale 50% off and then do two for the price of one, buy one, get one free. It's crazy. I bought some sets from Paul Rubens for gifts when they've gone on these sales because you just can't beat them, or for classes or whatever. When they are getting rid of a product, you know it because the prices are insanely low. So let's start with a color that is in, there's in a couple of these sets, lemon yellow 346. So I've got my printed swatch from Pretty Excellent there because it's got the color numbers on it. That is this one. I gotta turn my tin around actually because otherwise I won't know in what order it is. So it is a first bright yellow here. So from the rainbow tin. Now we'll do it from Meilaing, which is the second one in. And then we'll do it from the Chomay, I think it's pronounced. Okay. Honestly, I think the weakest looking one is the one from the rainbow tin. I'm going to just, maybe I didn't load it up properly. Let me just give it another, I want to be fair. I mean, but I just used this one yesterday, so if anyone's going to be brighter, I would think it would be the rainbow tin one. You know, they look very similar, very like identical to me. Okay, the next color that we have in a couple things, we have 109 cadmium yellow hue. I've got that one here. That is right here, the third. I want to make sure I get a good load of it so I'm not. And we're going to do the Pretty Excellent Meilaing. I mean, again, super vibrant. I honestly don't think you can go wrong with Pretty Excellent, and not for the price. Seriously, 20 bucks for 36 colors. And then is that one in the... Yes, it is. It's in this set too. I'll try to stick to ones that are in all sets. I mean, maybe... I don't know. I was saying maybe this one's a little more transparent, but gosh. I would say it looks like the rainbow tin one might be a little more transparent, but gosh, it's maybe I didn't put as much. I don't know. They're awfully similar. Let's see. Do we have gamboge? I don't have gamboge in all of them, but gamboge is such a pretty color. I'm gonna do. Let me just do a. Let me do the gamboge in this in the. Just do a thin slice of it because we only have it in two. I don't want to take up too much space. We have that one also in here. Same numbers between in all these three sets. That one does look maybe a little bit more glowy, like a little more artificial than that one. But, you know, honestly, I don't really notice the difference. Okay, what's one in all of them? Sap green is in all of them. So, let's see. I think that's this one right here. Yes. Such a pretty color. I'm using a soft brush too. And then it's here in this tin, the Meilaing. Gosh, they look the same to me. And then I kind of like how this tin's laid out. I've got plenty of room to get my brush in there. Now that one looks stronger, but I wonder if it's just because I can get my brush in there a little bit better because you've got the space around it and I don't have to worry about... Let's just give it a little bit more of this one. I want to be fair. Hopefully you're not getting the glare. I'm getting really bad glare here, but I want to make sure you don't have glare because you're probably making a buying decision here. Let's give a little bit more of this just to make sure. You know, they look the same. They feel the same. They're cousins, identical cousins, and you'll find... Did anybody watch the Patty Duke show? I used to love that show when I was a kid. Let's see. What's another color they all have? Well, let's see. I think they all have permanent rose. Yes, they do. Okay, permanent rose. 502, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very pretty, very vibrant. Permanent rose, and this one is how many over? 1, 2, it's the one right before purple. So it'll be this one right here. Oh, gorgeous. I love that color. And the last one would be right here in the Chaumet. That one looks like it might... Let's do a little dab over here. I feel like the Chaumet's permanent rose looks a touch, and it's very, very hard to perceive, just maybe a touch warmer. Like, they all might be a little bit different. Let me do the... Okay, it's a very small shift, but I would say that the Chaumet and the Rainbow Tin ones are very similar. The Meilaing looks a little bit cooler in undertone. They're all PV19 though, so and they all have the same name and number. Let's see, what's another one? Purple Lake 544. That's on all of them, so let's do that. Purple Lake is one right after Permanent Rose, I think. Yes. Give it a little bit more water. Let's do the Meilaing. I think this is right after. Yep, right after. I took this set because my original set because they're in that molded case, so I know that they'd be in the right order. This one maybe looks like a little bit warmer. Let me see. No, I think it's the same. And then we've got the Chaumet. I think I might have got a little bit too much water in there. I'm gonna give it a little dab over here too, just to... Yeah, I think they look really similar. I think so. All right, let's do an ultramarine blue because that's a color that we all use a lot. I think I do anyway. I think that one's right here at the bottom. Give it a little bit more. Now let me look at the Pretty Excellent. See, that looks more like a true ultramarine to me. That one looks a little bit too green. Like it's been pumped with some, like it's been pumped up with some phthalo blue or something to make it more intense. Let's look at this, the ultramarine blue from the Chaumet set. A little bit more water. That one also looks a little bit more like what I'd expect with it for an ultramarine. That looks like it definitely has some green in it or something. It definitely has... let me just wipe off that pan and give it another swatch. Maybe I got it dirty. when I was painting yesterday. I want to be fair. So let me... Okay, you know what? I think I must have gotten it dirty or something. Let me wipe that off and re-swatch it. I think I must have had some crud in there. Yeah, this looks normal. I actually like the Meilaing Ultramarine the best though. And it's the cheapest. Okay, let's do Raw Sienna because that's in all the sets and that's such a beautiful color. I mean, there are more similar colors, but oh shoot, I think I just got in the neighbor. This tin feels a little tight too. It's really easy if you have a big brush to get into a neighboring color. Oh, I want to leave a little room for at least one of the browns. Such a beautiful translucent color. So pretty. That one even seems a little richer. And then, let's see, where's the Raw Sienna here? Oh, does this one not have Raw Sienna? Oh, shoot. You know what? That one doesn't have Raw Sienna. I was looking at Gamboge. Oh, shoot. Well, let's do Burnt Sienna since that's... We'll do Burnt Sienna for our last color since that's a color that all the sets have. And keep in mind I'm using a soft brush. And Burnt Sienna is the second one down. I'm going to set a little water on there because that one I feel like it swatched kind of weakly on my swatch chart. You know, it does seem a little bit weaker than the other two, maybe. Yeah, maybe they'll wake up a little bit more with more use. I think they probably will. Guys, in the pan paints between these three lines from Paul Rubens, I'm not really seeing any difference. So unless you're in love with that rainbow tin, and you can find similar rainbow tins generic on Amazon, I would say I would go with Pretty Excellent, to be honest. If you're getting the tubes though, instead of the Pretty Excellent tubes, I would get this set of tubes because I do find from the tube these are much purer than the tube Meilaing paints. I think maybe the quality might have changed a little bit since the original Meilaings came out, but I don't know, the pans, I found the pans to be good. I did test old Meilaing against new Meilaing last year. I have a video on that, and I didn't find any difference, but I did find a difference between the pans, Meilaing pans, and the Meilaing tubes, but I did not find a difference between the Chomei tubes and the Chomei pans. So if you do want some replacements, I would say go with this, and if they don't have it, if it's not a color that's in here, try to find the equivalent in Van Gogh. Because the Meilaing pan paints I found to be probably the most similar to the Van Gogh tube paints if you're trying to refill, just like use up sap green. You don't want to buy a whole set. I don't blame you. Buy Van Gogh because it's very similar to that. I think the tin is beautiful, and if this set was priced around $50, I would say yeah, it's a great deal to get that quality tin. But one thing I did want to say, actually, you know what, I thought there was a little ding. There wasn't yeah, there's a little bit of a dent in this tin because they're just shipped in these really flimsy cardboard boxes. And if you're going to charge almost $70 for this, put it in one of those hard cardboard boxes that you put all of the other Paul Rubens products in. You can see, if I hold it to the light, you can see that din there. And if you bought this for the tin, that would be very irritating. Same thing with the 24 tin. I had a little ding on that too. And I mean, I don't care because they sent it to me for review, but that's look right there. I think it's really important though, if you are spending your hard-earned dollars on this, that you get a perfect product, especially if you're not buying it for the paints. The paints are okay. The paints are like the Meilaing. Like I said, if it was cheaper, I would have rated it higher because I don't feel like they deserve the $70 price point. And if you're going to spend that much, spend $72 or $74, whatever it is now, and get the pink tin Paul Rubens set, because that one is so much better in my opinion, because more single pigment colors. It has your real pigments, like instead of cerulean hue, you're going to get a real cerulean instead of this, you know, this light turquoise. You're going to get an actual cobalt turquoise. You're going to get better colors that will give you more personality, that will have some granulation to some of them. They'll all be a little bit different instead of it being more homogeneous. Like I find these sets to be very homogeneous, which is something you see in student grade paints because they're a little easier to handle, and also they're cheaper to produce. Because there's something I did feel when I was swatching those paints, and it felt like there was almost a syrupy consistency, not as bad as a lot of the other student grade paints, but you definitely felt that kind of like, I don't know if it's dextrin added as a filler, just like, seems like it just has a little bit more filler. Now it performs pretty well, but it does feel like there's a little something else in there besides just the gum arabic and the pigment that's stretching the paints out a little bit, and they don't have quite the glow that that some other brands have. So let's just show you swatches next to each other. This is the Pretty Excellent. This is my recommendation. They've been my recommendation for a student grade pick since I discovered them in like 2016 or 2017. I had a gift card and I had $20 on it, and I bought the set on a lark because I liked the tin, and they turned out to be I use them in my 30 Days to Better Painting class. I recommend them if people don't know if they like watercolor yet, because it does not harm your love of the medium. It's not going to put you behind the 8-ball learning. It doesn't do anything negative to you to learn on those paints. And this is what the Chaumet looks like. Very similar. But I will say that I didn't see, for positives, I didn't see a lot of bronzing. So like if I look where I have the mass tone here, where I put a really thick application, there's a little bit of shininess, but this is hot press paper, which would show it off a little bit more. And honestly, it's not bad. The titanium white in the rainbow tin set is actually very, very opaque. I mean, look at that. It's quite opaque. The Chinese white is very warm and transparent. The titanium dioxide white is cool and much more opaque. You could actually do highlights with that. I think there's a lot of nonsense pastel colors that aren't really that great as far as pastels go. There are beautiful pastel watercolors out there if you want a pastel paint. Personally, I've tried and like the Shinhan pastel, like the Tints set, and the Derwent pastel pan set. I like both of those a lot. I'm sure there are other good ones out there, but these are just so anemic that I can't imagine them being that useful for anything. And they look better on the swatch than they do when you're actually painting with them. I used some of the turquoise on that pepper, and I ended up having to go in with a little colored pencil to boost it a bit because it was just so anemic. I don't know what to say. I guess my original in-depth review of this still holds. I would rate this set higher just because the colors in this set it's got the best of the best colors, I feel like. I feel like this set fleshed out to 48 colors, which they came out, the pamphlet in this set shows you all 48 colors. I feel like the smaller sets have the better colors in them. I don't feel like you're really gaining that much for getting this set, except maybe that light red is really pretty, but you can mix it. I'm just seeing if there's any colors in here that's in the 48 set only that is a deal breaker. And like the Mars Black, there's an extra pan of that in the 24 set. It's not in the 36 set though, unfortunately. They have a pretty sepia. Their sepia does look like a beautiful burnt umber, so I will give them that. But look, you've got three very similar browns. You've got a yellow ochre and a raw sienna. Do you need them both? Probably not. You've got a quite anemic burnt sienna. You've got this cerulean blue hue, which is kind of like the manganese blue hue, which is basically PB15 plus white. I really dislike that, especially when you have an intense blue. You don't need that. I mean, if you're not going to do a real cerulean blue, I figure don't bother, because you're just making a weak phthalo blue. There's no benefit to that. So I guess maybe I was just kind of irritated and annoyed by this palette because of the additional colors that were really nonsense and the price. If you want my honest opinion, buy the Meilaing. If you want a budget set of water, if you want this quality, but you don't want to pay $70, buy Meilaing. You're not going to be disappointed. They do have some bigger sets now. I think they have a 52 set that would give you all of these colors plus a bunch of pastels. And actually, I think the pastels are probably better because they have more of them, and you know, you've got a better chance of getting something that you actually want. I think that the 48 set is a bit of nonsense, honestly. I feel like it's a bit of, okay, I like Paul Rubens. I think they're a good company. They've always treated me very well, but I'm going to be frank with you and with them if they're watching. I feel like that is a thing. Things aren't selling very well, so let's put out a really beautiful tin and fill it full of mediocre paint. Now, by mediocre, by mediocre, I want to say like a mediocre artist professional range. You know, I'm going to say mediocre, meaning like the quality of Meilaing, of Van Gogh, of better than Cotman, I would say. But it does not warrant a the same price as their professional tins. Maybe the professional paints are going to jack up after they get a new shipment into Amazon. I have no idea. But one thing I do notice is that when something stops selling very well, they discontinue it and they bring out something else, which might be the exact same thing. This paint came out, it was sold well, then it slowed down, so then they discontinued it. They came out with the tubes. The tubes are still there. They're probably going to discontinue those pretty soon. It seems like they just come out with a new generation of paint when the old generation stopped selling very well. And that is not just Paul Rubens. This is a trend I see throughout art and craft suppliers. I'm seeing legacy brands do this a lot more rather than just coming out with a really good product and selling open stock. They have just decided to make new sets, reconfigure what they already have into new sets. But Paul Rubens is actually, and I can't say this for sure, but just in my experience and using all these paints, it just seems like they actually slap a new generation on it. They'll say that, okay, this was the Pretty Excellent set. Okay, now we call it Meilaing and we add more colors. Okay, now we're calling it Chaumet and we're putting it in a new box. Okay, now we're calling it He Kwai He and we're putting it in a beautiful rainbow tin that people won't be able to resist. And, you know, their business, it's their right to do that, but I'm a product reviewer. It's my right to tell you what I really think about these products. The tin is beautiful. If you want the tin, I think the 36 set's around $55. You're going to have most of the best colors there. You could put whatever you want in it, you know, or you can, you know, get a tin, spray paint it white and alcohol ink it. Honestly, maybe I'm in a bad mood. I don't feel like I'm in a bad mood. I just feel like you're paying a lot more for the same paint, honestly. Although that ultramarine is granulating quite lovely. So does that. Honestly, I can't see a really marked difference between these paints. Maybe in the Meilaing there's a little bit of sediment that's not in the other two. So like maybe they do a little more filler in the Meilaing. Maybe it's just a batch variation. I don't think it's worth double the price is all I'm going to say on that. More than double the price. I think the 52 color of Meilaing is under $40. Like 30, 32, 35, and they go on sale all the time. So maybe they're just introducing this at a high price. Maybe it's going to level out at around $50. I don't know. I think this is worth $25 to $30. I think even at that, you'd be better off spending $42 and buying the professional paints unless you want the tin. But I can excuse it. The tin is really cute. It would be, you know, the Schmincke Academy comes out with the cute tins, and I like the Paul Rubens paint better than the Schmincke Academy. So I'll give you that. But yeah, selling the 48 set, which is less useful than the 24 set for as much as the professional line. I can't recommend that. Just spend $2 more, get the professional original pink tin, which is their best gradation of paint in my opinion for pans, and you'd be happy. You'd be more happy in my opinion, because there's a lot to flesh this set out. They're using a lot of cheap pigments. They're using, and I don't say cheap as be derogatory, say it's bad, but it's the same quality as Pretty Excellent in my opinion, in my use. Just get the Pretty Excellent, save yourself some money, and they're a great paint, and they're not different from this that I can tell. Am I a chemist? No. I'm just trusting my own eyeballs, my own experience, the pigment information I've been able to scrape together, and the fact they have the same pigment numbers on it. I'm just going to say, you do what you want to do. You have the information. I've given you all the honest information I can. You can make up your mind from that. Go forth and live your best lives. Enjoy yourselves. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this honest review. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.